All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Chav Gimel, Mesechus Pesachim. So we were discussing, and actually we're going to continue today, yesterday's sugya that we started. So the sugya is discussing this. Simply, when the Torah says don't eat, right? Does it include eating, or does it also not only include that it's usher to eat, but usher also for hana? So Rabbi Avo says anytime it says lo yochel, it implies both. Okay.
What daf we on?
Chav Gimel is today's 23. Chav Gimel. But Chizkiah argues. He says no. If it just says lo yochel, then it's mutter b'hana. Lo yeachel means it should not be eaten. That's asr b'hana, asr eat. But if it just says lo yochel, then it's mutter b'hana. And then obviously other cases, even though it might say lo yochel, there's a special heter, as we'll soon see, as to why it's permissible to go ahead and get hanas and to derive benefit from that item. All right, benefit could be selling it to a guy, giving it to somebody, feeding your animals. Those are all benefits to you, despite the fact that you're not allowed to go ahead and eat it. So we left off, the next kasha was V'harei Truma. Probably on 8 lines from the top, on Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, V'harei Truma. So let's take a look at Truma, right? Truma is given to the Kohen, right? It says over there, any zar, any non-Kohen should not go ahead and eat Kodesh. So it says Isra Chila on it, right? Utran, Marvin Lenazir B'yayin Liso B'Truma. Right, you can go ahead and use for an Eruv, you can use even wine for a Nazir, or for a Yisrael, the Eruv can be Truma. So you see that you're allowed to get Hana from it, right? You can get Hana by using it. So Truma Seichem, right? Over there's an extra ribu in the pasuk. The pasuk says Truma Seichem Shalachem Tia. It should be yours. So in other words, normally there's an Isser Hana, but since it says Truma Seichem of yours, and you can even use its monetary value, you just can't go ahead and eat it. And according to Chizkiah, who says you don't, in other words, that I already know it's mutter b'hana because it just says lo yechel, doesn't say lo yechel, right? Right? It means trumasechem is just saying, because in the pasuk they're saying that your truma is referring to all of Yisrael, or also the Levim, and therefore it's not teaching you that it's now mutter b'hana, because we already knew it was mutter b'hana, but rather it was coming to teach you that it was for the shot of the pasuk that it was that it belonged to them. So that was truma. Now the next case, fine. Vari Nazir. What about Nazir? It says over there in the case of a Nazir who's forbidden to go ahead, and one of his prohibitions is not only to cut his hair, but also to go ahead and drink wine. And not only drink wine, but go ahead and eat the skins or the seeds or anything that comes from the grapes. So that's what the pasuk says. So it says lo yachel utanan marvin lenazir b'yayin. We said earlier you can make an eruv, right, for a nazir for wine. So why is that? Shouldn't it be aser b'hana? The pasuk says nizro shaloya. So it says nizro. It says his nazirus. Right? Sounds like shaloya. In other words, he's allowed to get hana from these things. He just can't go ahead and consume them. And Rav Ashi Omar says no. It says over there's kadoshia gadol pera seir roisha. It says no. Only that his hair should be kodesh, should be holy, and that is he should grow out. So gidulo kodesh vein devar acher kodesh. In other words, only his hair growing out is kodesh, but not anything else. So therefore, that anything else, i.e., the wine, is not considered to be kodesh, and therefore it's considered to be mutter bahana to the nazir. I understand. Doesn't say, right, that gidulo, right, is kadosh, but nothing else is kadosh. Where do you see that? Maybe everything else is also kadosh, just like his hair is kadosh, and therefore he can't get hana. So rather, it must be like the teres of Marzutra, that since it says nizro, therefore these things are really his. He's allowed to go get hana from wine. He just can't go ahead and consume wine. Very chadash. What about chadash? What about the new grains that we have to wait until after the korban is brought on the second day of Pesach? So the chadash, the Rachman Amar v'lechem keli v'karmel lo yisech la'adet mayam ezeh. You should not go ahead and eat any bread or any of the new grains. Anything comes until the korban is offered. With Tanan we learn over there kites of the shagos ma'achel behema. you can go ahead and harvest the early crop or feed your animals. How could you feed your animals chadash, right? Shouldn't it be asr b'hana because you're not allowed to eat it? According to Rabbi Avo, since you're not allowed to eat it, you're also not allowed to get hana. So Amarav Shemaya, Shani Hasan, Damakra, Katsirchem. It says Katsirchem, your Katsira, your harvest. Katsirchem Shalachem Yed. That was your harvest is yours, just don't eat it, but you're allowed to go ahead and derive benefit from it. So according to the opinion of Chizkiah, so he doesn't need that pasuk at all. So he says, "Kitzacham d'chol yisrael mashma." It means referring to all Yisrael, just saying for the pshat of the pasuk that it's your katsira. It doesn't mean that it's mutter b'hana. We already know it's mutter b'hana because it doesn't say lo yeyachel. It just says lo yechel, right? So therefore, it's just telling you that it's once again that pshat of the pasuk and not to be darshan. So let's look at shvatzim now. Harei shvatzim. Now remember, this qualifies according to Chizkiah, right? As we said before, when it says lo yeyachel, it should not be eaten, not just don't eat. It should not be eaten. It's telling you iser hana and iser achila, right? And Rabbi Avo certainly says iser hana, iser achila. So everyone would say in that case, by shratzim, it should be aser b'hana. It's a sheketz, it's a sheretz, it's discussing one of the creepy crawlers, and you should not go ahead and eat it. Tonight we learn those who are going ahead and they trap animals. Let's say they go ahead and they check their trap, and inside their trap is one of the shratzim, one of the shmona shratzim. You're allowed to go ahead and sell it to a guy. When you sell it, you're getting hana. So Shani Hasam, Lochem, Shalachem. It says over there, since it says Lachem, it means you're allowed to go ahead and derive benefit from it. So so why does it say if you go ahead and find it in your trap, then you can sell it? You're allowed to trap it lechatchila, then sell it, right? Why can't you do that? So Shani Hasam, you, it says over there, you know, they're still discussing. It's still considered to be a sheketz, right? There's something there which is abomination to you, something which is gross, and therefore lechatchila you shouldn't maintain it. But if you have it, then you're allowed to go ahead and derive hana. And according to Chizkiah, so according to Chizkiah, why does it say lo yeyachel to teach you that it's aser b'hana, and then it says lachem to say it's muter b'hana, right? Lo lichtav rachman lo yechel. Don't say lo yechel, just say lo yechel. Lo boy lachem, and then you don't need another word of lachem to darshan, right? So Chizkiah tamadidi nami mihacha, because according to Chizkiah, this is actually the source. Chizkiah says the source of my halacha lo yechel is from here. By the fact it says lo yechel, and then you need another pasuk to tell you that it's muter b'hana, right? Because it says lachem. Therefore, says Chizkiah, we see that if it wasn't for that, lo yechel means aser be'achila, aser be'hana. Fine. V'harei chametz. What? Okay, let's take a look at chametz. Drachman Omar lo yechel chametz. You should not go ahead and eat chametz. The tiny learner brisa. Rabbi Yosi Haglili. Here comes a shita, a das yachid over here. So Rabbi Yosi Haglili Aimer. Teimel atzmecha. Hey chametz aser b'hana shel kol shiva. Right. According to Rabbi Yosi Haglili. Right. So it said, according to you, lo yachel means aser b'hana. How could chametz be aser b'hana all 7 days? In other words, Rabbi Yosi Haglili holds that chametz is only aser to eat for 7 days, but it's muter b'hana. So he says, how could it be aser b'hana? So Gemara says, no. Shani hasam. Diyamar Akar, the pasuk says, "Lo yiralachas or shalchaya," right? Really, it is included that you're not allowed to go ahead and get any hana, right? But the pasuk says, "Lo yiralachas or," right? It says you should not go ahead, and according to Rabbi Yosef Glili, right? So he says, "Lo yiralachas or," since it says "Lo yiralachas or shalchaya," it teaches you that it's still of yours. So the extra word of "Lo yiralacha," according to Rabbi Yosef Glili, means that the chametz is yours. You just right, you know. So therefore, you could go ahead and derive and get hana. V'rabanan shalcha iataroa means no, you can't go ahead and see yours. Shalcha tiarova ataroa shalacherim v'shalgavah. But you can go ahead and see chametz that belongs to a guy, or if it belongs to hektish. I v'idach and Korim Yosef Lili hiding that. So trei lecha ksibi. It says lecha twice. I v'idach. So according to the Rabbanan. So if it says lecha twice, shouldn't one of them come to tell you that you can see your own, right? And therefore get a hana. So he said no. One we said when you talk about acherim, one is acherim that are under you, and the other is acherim that are that are you're under them. So therefore, both cases, their chametz is mutter for you to go ahead and see. You have not violated anything. So how do you know both types of nachrim? So he says plus lecha. It says actually 3 times. There's another pasuk of lo yira lecha sor b'chol gvulecha shivas yomim. So the another pasuk says lecha to teach you the 3rd time the idach. And so he says in the other opinion chad b'sor v'chad b'chametz utzrichi. And according to Rabbanan, no. What's the 3rd one? It's not to teach you that lecha is permitted. Rather, we're talking about both types of chametz, right? One, which is a soor, which is leaven, right? Leaven is not really edible. That's more of the yeast that allows it to rise. And the other is the chametz, which is more edible. And therefore, both of them are needed to teach you that either one, right, you're not allowed to go have to get any hana from those, but only if there's owned by a nachri, those can be seen. If they're owned by a guy, there's no violation of that. Fine. So that was the case of machlokes of Rabbi Avo and Chizkiah. Now, so we tried to argue a bunch of proofs. Now we want to go ahead and bring a machlokes tanaim and basically tie that machlokes tanaim to their understanding of Rabbi Avo and Chizkiah as to the isser of what lo yechel. So lema ketanai. Let's say this is a machlokes tanaim of Rabbi Avo, that which he said. Right? No, it's lo seichel to Rabbi Avo. That's what Rashi said, right? Lo seichel, that don't eat, according to Rabbi Avo, which means both isser achila and isser hana. It's a machlokes tanaim. Let's see. So it says yeaseh l'chol malacha. All right. So now the pasuk we're going to be discussing chelav, right? Chelav. So if you look at the the pasuk in the bottom brought the pasuk over there. It says the chelav nevela, the chelav treifa. It says the chelav, right? The fats of a nevela, of a carcass, and the fats of a treifa of an animal. Let's say there's a hole in its lung, and therefore, even though it's a kosher animal, right? It's a treifa because it has a hole. Yeyaseh l'chol malacha. You can use it for your work, right? Yeyaseh l'chol malacha. Use it for any work, right? V'oichel lo yisachlu, but don't eat it. Okay, so it says over there by the chelav of the nevela, you can go ahead, you can't eat it, but you can use it, right? Mutter b'hana. Now, so let's see what's going on here. So it says, yes, l'chol malacha, you can go ahead and use it. So what does it mean, l'chol malacha? Sheyachol l'malachas gavoa mutter, l'malachas hedyot hu aser. You might think that you can, that which we say you can go ahead and use it. Maybe you can only use it for something which was something which is for kedusha, for malachas gavoa, right? For hektish. But for your own purposes, aser. So tamalemer l'chol malacha. Therefore, it says l'chol malacha. You can use it for any reason. You can use it for hektish. You can use it for private. Right? You can use it for any reason. That divir Rabbi Yosei Glili. That was the opinion of Rabbi Yosei Glili. Okay, we'll soon see why he holds it. So that's Rabbi Yosei Glili. All right, that was one opinion. Now comes opinion number 2. It's only 2 machlokes. And Rabbi Kiva Omer, sheyachol l'malachas hedyot hu tahor l'malachas gavoa hu tameh. He says, no, we're not discussing, as the Gemara will still point out, it's not discussing which types of malacha are mutter. We're talking about whether this is tameh or tahor, right? This chela. Sheyachol malachas hedyot yehei tahor, malachas gavol yehei tameh. That you might think maybe really it's permitted for all types of malacha, but for the malacha for your own purposes is tahor. But if you can use it for malachas for hektish, then it's tameh. Tamaloymer l'chol malacha. Therefore, it says l'chol malacha to teach you that it will not be tameh for gavoha. Now, what's the machlokes over here? And that was Rabbi Kiva. So what's the machlokes in Rabbi Yosei Glili, who says we're mattering it for the side of malacha, and Rabbi Yosei Glili. Rabbi Yosei Glili, the tuma tahara lo yitzrich kra. By Rabbi Yosei Glili, the first opinion, he didn't need to go ahead and darshan whether tuma tahara kitzah kra isra heter. He's only telling you isra heter whether you can go ahead and use it for just hektish or even for private. And Rabbi Kiva. And according to Rabbi Kiva, no, I already know it's mutter for everything. So I don't need to tell you isra heter. It's always mutter. Or let's say it's a to teach you whether it's tameh or tahor. Now, what's the machlokes here? So now we're going to bring it back into our case. So that was the machlokes over there between Rabbi Yosei Glili and Rabbi Yosei Glili and Rabbi Akiva. Now, my lav b'al kamiflaki, is this not what they're arguing about? Maybe they're arguing about Rabbi Avo's Nakuda, right? The Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who was the first opinion, Savar, he held loisachlu mashma bein isra achila bein isra hana. He held just like Rabbi Avo, right? That when it says loisachlu by the nevela of the animal, right, of the nevela, right, the chelev of the nevela, loisachlu mashma bein isra achila bein isra hana. And it really, it's mashma, you can't use it for anything, right? And therefore, it's coming to tell you that it's mutter b'hana. It needs to come to tell you that there is a heter to go ahead and use it. Right? When it says we can't eat the chelev, right? It's only mashma, you can't eat it, but it's mutter b'hana. So that which it says you can use it for your malacha, I don't need it to tell me that I can use it for malacha. So therefore, it's only coming to teach me that you can use it because it's tahor. It's telling me tumat tahara. It's not telling me I can use it. I already know I can use it because lo yochel does not mean also mutter b'hana. So Gemara says, no, that's not the machlokas over there. It deflects. Really, everybody could hold like Rabbi Avo. That when it says lo yisaychlu or lo sachelu, it's mashma both isra achila and isra hana. And over here, what's the machlokas over here? Rabbi Yossi Aglili savar kshehutra nevela he hutra chelba v'gida lo hutra. So when we go ahead and we matter the nevela, who is the first opinion, right? We only mattered it, but the chelev along the chelev of the nevela and the gida, right? The gida nasha was not permitted, right? Only the chelev only the nevela is permitted, right? So chelba v'gida lo hutra and the chisracha, and therefore when the pasuk comes to tell you you can use it for any malach you want, lehatera hanahu dias. Therefore, it's coming to tell you you can even use it the chelev. Rabbi Akiva saver kshehutra nevela, when the nevela was mater chelba v'gida nami hutra. It not only did it matter everything, the nevela, it mattered everything with it, also the chelev with it, with the nevela. And therefore, therefore, that when the pasuk comes, it's only coming to teach you tumat tahara because we already know it's mutter. Rabbi Yossi Aglili ashkan chelev d'shai rachmana b'hana elagid nema d'aser. So we see, right? So when we said that it was coming to mater the hana of the chelev, we only find that that chelev is mutter. But where do you see that the gid is also maybe the gid hanasha would be aser of a nevela? So by saying hachinami daser, yes, the gid hanasha would be aser, right? According to this, because there is no heter to use the gid hanasha of a carcass. And or some say no, you can use a kavachimer. By chelev, which is if you go ahead and you eat forbidden fats, it carries a kares, but nevertheless it's mutter b'hana of a nevela. So gid shena anish kares, but the gid anasha, which does not carry a kares, lo kol shekain, certainly that should be mutter b'hana. So maybe you can use it from a kavachimer and say from the kavachimer it's mutter b'hana. Rabbi Shimon the Aser, and according to Rabbi Shimon who says that the Gid Anasha is Aser, so why there's a Kavachim to say that really the Gid Anasha should be mutter? So he says no, Ikla Mifrach, you can ask a kasha. It says Ma l'chelev shechein huter mechlal eitzel chaya. Right, by chelev there's a heter. Why? Because by chelev we don't find that the chelev is only Aser of the forbidden fats of a behema, right, of a domesticated animal, but right of that of a chaya of a wild animal that doesn't carry the same Isser. So therefore, since it's a heter mechlal eitzel chaya, so tamir begod shalohuter mechlal eitzel chaya. But as opposed to the gid anasha, there's never a heter. So since maybe we find that there's a heter by chelev, because chelev is only also by behema, not a chaya. So maybe that's the reason why chelev would be mutter b'hana. But when it comes to the gid anasha, right, it's both types of animals, a chaya and a behema. Therefore, maybe there's no reason that's mutter b'hana. V'idach. So what would the one who used the kavachimer, what would he answer to that? So he says, Behema kamrina, behema miyas lavishti. We're only talking about behema. And lamaisa, by behema, we don't find that there is any heter when it comes to the chelev. So therefore, chelev is more machmer because it carries a kares. And if chelev we say is mutter b'hana, certainly the gid anasha should be mutter b'hana. Now, the Gemara asks, analyzing us, the michti. We just asked all these different psukim, right? Between Rabbi Vo and Rabbi Chizkiah, the different isurim, right? Truma and Chadash and the Yain Nazar, all these things. V'shaninu, and we answered all the kashas. V'chizke Rebbe Vav, my pligi. So lamaisa, what's the machlokes when it comes to chizke and Rebbe Vav? Right? They argue as to the mashmos of the word. V'chametz of Pesach, v'liba d'Rabbanan, v'shor aniska, v'liba d'Rikol. Right? When it comes to chametz of Pesach, right? Whether one can get hana on Pesach according to the Rabbanan, as opposed to Rabbi Yosef Glili, who said it's mutter b'hana, but according to the Rabbanan, chametz on Pesach and a shor aniskal and an animal that the gourd is supposed to be stoned. And that animal is forbidden for hana, v'aliba divrei kol, according to everybody. Chizkiya nafik le mi lo yeachel. So Chizkiya learns from there. Lo yeachel means aser bechila, aser b'hana. Rabbi Avo nafik le min nevela, and he learns from nevela that by the fact that in nevela we have to go ahead and say it's mutter b'hana, mashma, that normally if it doesn't say mutter b'hana, it's always aser b'hana, even just as lo yeachel. So michdei bein lamar aserim b'hana. Since both these cases are asur b'hana, so my benayu, what's an afkamina between Rabbi Avo and Chizkiya? Is it just their way of darshaning? So my answer is no. Ika benayu chulin shenishchatu be'azar. In a case of where chulin, right, non-consecrated animals are shechted in the Beis Hamikdash in the Azara. Chizkiya saver, he held that lo yeachel mutihani. Since it says lo yachel, it says over there it should not be eaten, right? So therefore, it goes ahead and it excludes the other sohana, and therefore the word oiso right? So therefore, when it says lo yachel by chametz, right? So therefore, the word oso comes to exclude chulin that was the ishkutu be'azar that we say over there. That also you can't get any hana. The word oso comes to go in this case comes to exclude the cases of chametz pesach and shor niskal, and therefore chulin shenish b'azara lav deraisa. And therefore, when it comes to chulin that was shakli azara, is not deraisa because it's not learned from the word oso. So therefore, that's an nafkamina. The nafkamina is chulin that was shakli in the azara, right? Whether that is deraisa or not. According to Chizkiya, it is deraisa because it's used from the word oso, and according to Ravo, the word oso is used for something else, and therefore chulin shenish b'azara, right, is not over here darshaned to say that it is aser. It's not aser b'hana. So Yosef, so you sit before Rabbi Shimon Levi. He said, in the name of Rabbi Shimon Levi, right? Similar to what we're discussing. Where do we know that just like all these cases are aser b'chila, they're also aser b'hana? And what is that? Chametz b'Pesach v'shar niskal, right? So referring to chametz and Pesach and shor the niskal, they has to be destroyed. You can't get any hana. So menayin. So typically lo yechel, right? So I understand why do you say menayin. So learn from lo yechel. So isra chila mashmalei, isra hana lo mashmalei. So okay, maybe when it says lo yechel, maybe it just means you can't eat chametz, or you can't eat the shor niskal. But who says you can't get hana? So typically in nevela. Why didn't you learn from nevela, right? Nevela says you can't eat nevela, but you could use it. So by the fact it tells you can use it there, mashma, other cases, if it doesn't say you can use it, right, sounds like it should be aser b'hana, right? So the answer is no. Some like Rabbi Yehuda, diyamar dvar kikasa. He says, no, maybe he holds like Rabbi Yehuda we saw earlier, who holds that, no, that which is said over there is dafka that case to teach you that we said you can go ahead and give it to a, right, you give it to a ger and you sell it to a nachri. Maybe it was dafka like that over there, and Rabbi Yehuda doesn't use it to darshan it. So Isa like Rabbi Yehuda, typically mehecha the nafka Rabbi Yehuda. So if you say maybe holds like Rabbi Yehuda in this case, so hold like Rabbi Yehuda's source of how we know that lo yechel is isser hana, and he learns it from meikel tishachun oso. He learns it from the case of, I think it was nevela. Right? That says go ahead and send it. Right? You can give it to the dog. If you give it to a dog, that sounds like in that case it's mutter b'hana because it says you give it to a dog, but normally it's aser b'hana. You can't give it to your dog. So my answer is no. He holds, no, that is deraisa. And therefore, he holds that you can't say the kalaf tishachun oso in that case, because over there, that is not referring to chulin shenishal be'azar, because he holds it's deraisa and not derabban. So if that's the case, minayin. So he says, okay, so where is the source for no? So that is now is aser b'achila, also aser b'ana. So the pasuk says v'chol chatas asher yuva midam, right? So any chatas, right, from which the blood, right, that was brought from his blood. That says over there you should go ahead and burn it. So it doesn't need to tell me you should go ahead and burn it. Why is it tisaref? Since I don't need for it to tell me that you go ahead and you burn, right, the blood over there, and the gufa, the chsi v'heinei sarf, and says over there, right, you already burn the offering, right? It says v'heinei sarf to know in the chali yisurim shabbatara. Therefore, say this pasuk of b'eish tisarif is not coming to teach you about korban because I already know about a korban. Maybe it's telling you other cases of Isra Achila to tell you that those cases you have to burn. In other words, you can't get hana b'eish tisarif. Right, and if I don't need to teach you for achila because those already say don't eat. Maybe it's coming to teach you about to teach you Isser Hana. And so the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, if that's the case, just like over here by the extra karbanos, right, that you have to go ahead and burn it. Maybe all things I should go ahead and burn. You have basar b'chalav, you have treifa, you have nevela. All those things, since it's usher to eat, maybe I have to burn it, not just not get hana. I have to burn it. Of course, it's treifa. So Makra, but kodesh ba'is tisarif. This is only but kodesh, right? Ba'is tisarif, but kodesh b'streifa. V'af kol yisurim shabbat v'ein kol yisurim shabbatara b'streifa. Now, it's only things that are kodesh. Those you have to burn, but not other isurim that are not kodesh, such as basar b'chalav or treifa or nevela or any of those things. Those don't necessarily have to be burnt. And I guess the Gemara will continue with these lines of questioning tomorrow, Mr. Shem. All right, everyone have a wonderful day.